with a panel show. And this time, last week we talked about Premier League. This year we're talking A grade and women's hockey in Australia. Welcome everybody. I'm Eric Balnar, joined by four, can we call them all legends now of the Australian ice hockey community? Some from interstate that are now South Australians, some born here and have made their name in South Australian hockey. We'll start going right to left. We've got Neata Crompton with the Blackhawks. We've got Candice Mitchell with the Falcons, Tiff Venning with the Red Wings, and Tash Farrier from the Jokers. First off, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Tash, you're turning into a bit of a media superstar now. You're on the live streams, you're on those interviews on the ice arena. Is this the transitional phase of your career, like you see with like Wayne Gretzky moving into the media space?
No, this is just purely because of lockdown, isn't it? And then you jump at all the opportunities to communicate with people. So here we are.
Well, let's jump right in. We'll start off the top with a bit of an A grade recap. We're going to go in reverse order of the standings. We'll talk a little bit about each of the teams, but then what I'm really looking forward to is talking some Australian ice hockey with all four of you and hearing some stories. But we'll start with the A grade, and we'll start with you, Candice, and the Falcons. Here's a look at how the Falcons are doing so far this season. It's been a bit of a tough year. Did finally, that graphic's actually doing you a little bit dirty here, because you did win the last game you played for the first win of the season versus the Red Wings. Sorry about that, Tiff. Look at some of the point leaders on the season. Been a bit of a turnover rebuilding year for the Falcons. A couple different goaltenders seeing time in net as well. There's a look at the goals for and goals allowed, but a 6-1 victory in the last game, really starting to pump that up for the Falcons.
Really starting to hit our stride, aren't we?
Yeah, there you go. You're undefeated in your last last game.
If only we sort of stopped like lockdown, finished the season, we'd finish on that high. But no, I mean, it's still been fun this season. I think genuinely we all enjoy playing together, but it's been an interesting season because traditionally we've had Michelle Coonan in net, who's since sort of been promoted or relegated, I don't know, to out on the ice, and she's actually been tearing it up, which has been absolutely hilarious because I had no idea she was such a skilled player with the stick, and she certainly looks like she's enjoying herself and saving her knees. So,
well, we're seeing a couple big saves from Michelle in net there. What do you think it is about a goaltender? Because there's other goalies in this league like Eric Lean or Ollie Martin that were traditionally goalies that are now moved out and they do pretty well. What is it about the goaltenders that seem to be able to read the play?
Surely they must be able to see so much more of it from their end of the ice. So there's got to be some processing going on after all that time watching us from that end. You've got to pick up on something, right? So, and she's a skilled athlete anyway. I'm sure that whatever she takes on, she's going to do really well. But since she's been out in the field, we've had Maddie Francis step up from B grade. He's doing an absolutely amazing job. Fantastic, positive attitude, has a crack. And I think since he's been playing B grade and A grade, he's really stepped up, and it's been really great to see. He was so excited after our game against the Red Wings that he actually had a car accident because he was cheering in the car. I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but he messaged to say, I think he messaged me saying, I don't know if I can make it to training. I've had a bit of a crash. I'm like, you all right? He's like, yeah, I was just so excited after our win. Just so hyped. It was a really good, sorry Tiff, but it was our first win for the season, so pretty pumped, and he was a large part of that too. So.
But I love hearing stories like that because it is a bit of a tough season, but that's an awesome win right there, especially for Maddie Francis, allowing just one goal versus a team that was putting the puck in the net pretty good too.
Yeah. So we, again, our season's probably been a bit, although we haven't had any wins, many wins, the season, it's still been, I think we've had some close games, and sometimes in the third period we let it run away from us, and maybe the score doesn't reflect our effort on the ice and how well we can play. But again, we do have quite a different team this year compared to last year, and it's something that we can continue to build on.
There seems like there's some characters in that room at least.
Yeah, I love it. I actually really enjoy playing. Obviously, my main focus has always been A-Dub, but I keep coming back to playing with the A grade or the Falcons club because I really enjoy it as a club, and I enjoy the guys in there, and we have a good laugh. And not only in the change room, but in the chats and things as well. So they're a good bunch of guys. So
what do you think the next thing is to get more than one win on the board for the Falcons here?
I don't know. Look, we'll just take it one step at a time, one period at a time. You know, the cliches go.
Pucks in deep.
Yeah, that's it. So just everyone. I don't have the answer because if I did, we would have had more wins. So.
Fair enough. Well, a big 6-1 win in the last game, which brings us to the next team on the ladder, and that is the Red Wings. They were poised. They were in a playoff spot, but a couple wins has kind of seen them fall out of the spot. Tiff Venning is here from the Red Wings. Here's a look at how the Red Wings season has gone so far. They've got a 5-7 win-loss record. You've won a couple games, lost a couple games. It's been sort of inconsistent, Tiff, with the Red Wings this year, but it's a bit of a younger side. There's some good promising players in there, and they're certainly giving the competition a run for their money. Joylon Oki, I want to ask you about him a bit later on, because he seems like he's a bit of a spark plug and creates something out of nowhere. Very experienced Tamir Dunning anchoring some of the points at the top of that scoring list. There's the team form, 4 losses in the last 5. You were able to score goals earlier in the season. That's kind of dried up a little bit late. Red Wings, Tiff, in the thick of a playoff battle right now for that last spot with the Blackhawks. But what's going on in the Red Wings camp right now?
Yeah, so it's a really good team. Everyone gets along so well. We have great chemistry on and off the ice. Unfortunately, we've been a bit inconsistent in players. Tommy had an injury pretty early on, so we've lost him. We had Chris at the start, but unfortunately we lost him to Premier. And then, of course, Daniel. We were waiting for him to get of age so he could come up and play A grade. So we finally got him. We've played a few games with him now. And yeah, so we seem to play best when we have all of our team together. So we've been a bit inconsistent, but I think going on, we have everyone. So hopefully we can get back to that spot.
We'll talk about Dan Kudelka right now. We got a little highlights package that you'll see of him. He's an electric little player, only 15 years old. He's playing defense for you guys. Cuddles, as Sammy's been calling him. What's he bringing to the team? He must be pretty fun to play with.
Yeah, it's really good. He definitely brings some legs. He is so fast. He just zooms past everyone. It's pretty fun. I've played a bit of D with him, and it's really good because I can just trust him to go off and do all the heavy work.
So how many seasons have you been involved with the Red Wings now?
This is actually my first season with Red Wings. So I was actually with the Jokers for 3 years beforehand. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. They're all very welcoming, and I'm just having a great time.
So what brought about the move to the Red Wings for you, Tiff?
Just been with the Jokers for a while. I just wanted a bit of a change of scenery, something different, which I've definitely gotten. So yeah.
And I guess some of the highlights for you this season, you got the 5-7 record. You've had a couple big wins, couple big losses. Any moments stand out for you so far in the season?
Sorry, I'm not ready. I think just like when we win, it's really good. It's great to go into a locker room together and enjoy that all together. As I said, like it's great chemistry. The team is really good and we all get along. So I think it's just being in the change room after that I really enjoy.
So 5-7 in 4th place right now. They're not far behind the Blackhawks. And so you and Neat's actually kind of battling it out for that final playoff spot. And I think there's a couple key games, Blackhawks and Red Wings, down the stretch. Let's talk about those Blackhawks right now. Blackhawks started off hot, went into a bit of a scuffle. They're starting to find some form again. The Blackhawks record, I think they're getting close to 500. They have hit that 500 mark. They got 6 wins, 6 losses, and 1 overtime loss. That was an absolutely heartbreaking loss to the Tigers. They grabbed one at the death and then scored one in overtime. Look who's leading the points. Neata Crompton, 3 goals, 7 assists, sitting atop those points for the Blackhawks. And as far as their form, there you go, 2 straight wins, 3 of their last 4 games to surge into a playoff spot. Those goals against are starting to go down. Those goals for starting to go up, starting to put that puck in the back of the net. Neat's back playing hockey locally this year. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been nice. Obviously, I took maybe 1 or 2 years off. Played with Tiff in the Jokers. Well, that was 2 years ago, I think, right before COVID. So, yeah, it's been good playing some local hockey. I kind of wanted to take a break from, that competitive, like I played overseas and stuff. Really just wanted to take a step back and just be on a team with a bunch of good guys, and that's what I'm getting with the Blackhawks. So it's been fun.
So what's up with the Blackhawks and the Tigers? Because there was a fiery championship series last year. I know that you weren't on that team, but you're with the group this year. Early on in the year, I think there was a bit of a scuffle at the end of one of the games, a bit of fireworks, and it was a big win for the Blackhawks. It was the first loss of the Tigers all year, but a lot of those games with the Tigers, who have been running through the competition the last few years, have been really tight. What is it about those Tigers that brings out the feistiness in the Blackhawks?
I think that we're both a bit of a physical team. That fight I actually kind of just stood on the bench for and just watched it and just kind of shook my head and walked away because I didn't love that. It is what it is in hockey, and you can't kind of take it too seriously, you know. And this is A grade. It's not AHF. It's no, we're not battling for, you know, some international trophy. So I don't know. I didn't love that, but I think that part of the reason just comes back to we're both very physical teams. I personally think that the Tigers are a little bit choppy, but you know they'll probably say the same about us. So yeah, I just think it comes back to that.
It's been a few different players that have played on the team. Like you got like over 30 people that have played for the Blackhawks. A few different goaltenders as well. Has it been a challenge playing with a bunch of different players, or is it good to get a bunch of different guys in the lineup and see how you guys go?
In hindsight, I think that's been the biggest challenge of the year, to be honest. I think that some of the losses that we've had could have been avoided if we had a bit more structure and a bit more, I guess you could say, the team gelling. I think there was a couple of games there where we had 4-line on the team, and it wasn't really necessary. I understand that sometimes coaches have to make decisions for the following week because we might have a couple of players that are having to play up or down or whatever it was. So yeah, it was I would say that mainly it's been difficult. It's been really cool though. Like I personally really like the guys on the Blackhawks. I think they're like a bunch of really fucking funny guys, and it's great locker room conversation, and yeah. Like
some of your line mates this year have been fun to watch. People like Matty Lothian seems like he's a pretty funny guy around the room.
Yeah, he's a beauty. I love Matty.
Who else we got? Jared McDonald's had a big year as well. He's been putting up some points. Any players that you've been really gelling with on the ice?
I got to play with Reese Page a couple of times, and that was a lot of fun. Like Reese and I are good mates, and it was good to kind of play with a friend that I knew a bit better. Obviously, this is my first year in the Blackhawks. I didn't actually know a lot of the guys, so yeah, that was nice. But Caleb, he's a crack up. He's that guy that you look to on the bench, and no matter what's happening, he's got a joke, he's got a smile. Like he's just the funniest guy. He's always got a monster before the game, so maybe that has something to do with it. But
I guess both for you and Tiff here, both making a transition to a new team this year. How do you make yourself known in a new group of people when you're changing teams in sport?
I don't know if it's so much about making yourself known. I think we've had this conversation or a similar conversation before, and I think it's just about being who you are and just being consistent. Like, not everyone is that loud locker room personality, and not everyone has to be. If you had everyone that was, a really loud, noisy locker room personality, it would just be chaos. You need those people like Jared McDonald, absolute beauty, but he's not that loud in the change room, and he really calms everyone down. When we're getting rowdy, it's good, but sometimes we do need to have that level of like, all right, let's come back to earth a little bit, So I think it's just about, you have to be consistent and be who you are. Like, people, as soon as you come onto a team like that, they're gonna like it no matter what.
Well, the Blackhawks battling right now with the Red Wings for that last spot. There's a bit of distance between second and third, not much, but the Jokers have kind of turned it on this year. They're actually pushing towards the top. They've had a pretty good season this year. A team filled with a bunch of kids, a couple savvy vets, and 8 wins and 4 losses. Sounds pretty good compared to some other seasons for the Jokers, sitting in second place right now. The scoring leaders, familiar face up on top of that, Tash Farrier. There you go, 19 points, but Julian Friedrich nipping at your heels a little bit. He's got 11 goals. He's turned into one of the premier goal scorers in the A-grade competition. A team that can score a lot of goals. 5 goals on the season. That's their average, only allow 3 per game. Jokers are looking pretty good. It must be nice to see the Jokers run a form compared to some other years, Tash.
Yeah, I've been a little bit out of touch, to be honest, because I played with the Jokers in 2016 and haven't been back to club until this year. So I think the second year I played, I'd ruptured my Achilles and then never came back, and then that was it. So I've come back now, and it's a whole new vibe, and there's lots of new people around the place, and there's all the younger guys from Sammy's development program are up and about, so it's really good to see. Some
of the younger kids, especially in that program, one of them, a standout, has been Julian Friedrich, your line mate for most of the year. He's been putting them in the net.
Yeah, he's a great player. I feel like last time I was around, these people that, like Jeremy, his brother, for example, was just a kid, and now I've come back and Julian's here, and he's like massive for a 15-year-old. So I'm really excited for him to be able to jump up into Premier League next year when he's of age, and I'm sure he's going to have a really bright future ahead of him.
Are there any kids maybe outside of Julian that are really, like the Jokers do such a good job of developing some players? Any kids that are really stepping out in your mind outside of Julian?
To be honest, when we think about the development program, the ones that I'm looking at are like the 4 young girls that are out there in Sammy's program, and that makes me feel excited for women's hockey and the way that those young girls are skating and working really hard on the small ice in those skills sessions. And I'm actually blown away by how great they are. So I'm really, really excited to see them kind of move through Pee-wees and Bantams and head into the Women's League. I think that's going to be really great to see.
Is it safe to say that you personally are having a lot of fun on the ice this year?
Yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying my time. I think coming to club hockey, I had obviously a big break from hockey altogether, and then came back for the A-Dub season with these ladies and went away to Worlds in Sweden and Iceland. And to come back to club hockey and just have a really relaxed time and just enjoy it for what it is on a Wednesday night at 9:15. It's been great, and I'm really loving it.
All right, well, here's your chance to talk up all of your, I know you have a great analytical brain here, Tash. You get to play, when you're on the broadcast, you talk about, you get to play Neats, you get to play Candice, you get to play Tiff. What about these 3 women make them hard to play against when you're gone from teammate to foes on the ice?
Yeah, I love playing against these girls, and I think they'd probably say the same. I think it's really good to see, like, we love playing on a team with each other, but what I love seeing is like the women stepping up into an A-grade mixed league and setting the tone. And, you know, Tiff is really strong on defense, and she had some time up forward with the girls as well, so she's quite diverse in how she plays. And Candice is a solid stay-at-home D that you can put all your trust in, no matter what league you're playing in. I'd say that she's definitely one of the most consistent players that I've played with in my whole entire hockey time. And then you've got Sharnita, who's just she's a grinder, but she's also a sniper as well. So she does all the hard work in the corners, but she's also very reliable in the high slot. If you give her the puck, it's likely that it's going in. So I just love seeing the girls flourish in a mixed competition. I mean, you saw Sharnita, she's scoring top on her team. So yeah, that's what I love to see when I'm playing against my teammates.
I think that's pretty cool to see that, you know, on this panel right now, we've got 2 point leaders on their team and then 2 defensemen that kind of anchor on those top pairings on those teams. That must be pretty cool to not just hold your own, but be the go-to folks on those teams.
I actually had no idea coming into this, as we were talking before, when you were like, yeah, you're the lead point scorer on your team. I was like, no. You're like, yeah, you are. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, like when, you know, Tash's name come up there and stuff, like it's just really awesome to see. And like right now, you know, we've got so much diversity through all of the teams, you know, and we're all competing. You know, we're all here and we're all playing really well. And like Tash said, it's no matter who out of these girls I'm playing against, it's always a battle.
Well, the last team that we don't actually have representation for on this panel because, well, honestly, they get talked about enough, I feel like, over the last few years because the Tigers, maybe even Team Canada, I think there's only 2 players on this team that don't have a Canadian passport. The Tigers, they've only lost 2 games this year, 10 wins, 2 losses, a 1 overtime win. Ollie Martin, the former goalie, leads the comp in goals. He leads the comp in points. Stu Henley, last year's point champ, sitting not too far behind with 19 points. Actually, it's quite a little gap. And in net, Sam O'Neill with the lowest goals against average in the competition. They also score the most goals. They won 4 of their last 5. The Tigers. We won't spend too much time on the Tigers because they don't have anyone to defend for themselves on this team. But what's it like playing those Tigers?
We were talking before, I actually quite enjoy it because I find I like their structure and I like their intensity, and even though we don't beat them, I feel like our team really rises to the challenge. And we can, sometimes we can stay with them for a bit, but personally I do enjoy it. It is a bit physical, but again, they'll probably say the same thing about us. But I thoroughly enjoy playing the Tigers.
I mean, you feel like if someone's going to win the championship that's not the Tigers, I mean, you're going to have to beat the Tigers to become the champion at some point. We'll ask a simple one. Is it possible? Can the Tigers be beat?
Yeah, I think the Tigers can be beat. I think
The Blackhawks proved it.
Yeah, the Blackhawks beat them. I think the Jokers had a win against them as well. That's the nature of hockey is no matter how good you are, you can go through a whole season and be top. And playoffs are a completely different game. So I would never count out any team to beat the Tigers. But I do admire their structure and their experience there. And they do have a lot of depth. So it'd be a challenge, but I think it's possible.
When the finals roll around, that's something that is different. You go from playing each other once every 4 or 5 weeks to all of a sudden becoming the best of friends when you play in a 3-game series, potentially 3 games at least. Well, is there a different in strategy or setup, or what's it like going from playing week to week to all of a sudden 3 games in a week versus the same team?
I would say you get a better idea of who you're playing against. Like we might play the Tigers once and then play them again in 6 weeks. So when you're playing them again and again and again, you get a better idea of their little ticks. So you can start to unravel them a little bit more, at least have a go at it. Same thing with any of these guys. Joker's strength is speed. So you can try and create some more systems and get something going where you can then try and get past those layers of defense.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the season getting back underway after a little lockdown layoff. Tiff, how are you going to feel stepping on the ice after the, 2-3 weeks of not being able to play at all? Is that going to be a challenge, or?
I think I might be a bit shaky. I haven't even been to the gym really. But I'm looking forward to it. It's good to have a little challenge. But
How's everybody feeling about getting back on the ice after a few weeks?
Well, I mean, I'm missing my practice tonight, so
Team player.
not a great start.
No, we actually have a bye this week, so we've got. I don't think we play until the 14th. So.
What's another week?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Well, that is the A grade wrap. Thank you so much for helping me break that down. But now, the stuff that I'm really looking forward to. I mean, I feel very lucky that I get to sit in a room with 4 very accomplished hockey players, both domestically and internationally. Everybody here has played for Team Australia. Everybody's played AWIHL, both with and against each other. We'll start. We'll go back to the start of the AWIHL. Candice, you were a big part of those teams, a team that won 5 in a row here in SA. Tash, you got to be part of those teams. What was it about those? It was the start. It was the start of the AWIHL, right?
Yep. And look, as I said, my memory's a little bit shaky because I've been at it for a while, but those were definitely the golden years under Botsy's reign mainly. We had a good collection of girls who were motivated and committed to training. A lot of depth, although some of us were still developing as well. There was a lot of depth with the addition of some imports over the years. So through that team, we secured people like Beth, Kirsty. We had some Canadians come, Courtney, Nikki, Ouchie, a whole bunch of really great players that came over and played for us in those early years. And that trend continued when we could get imports over, and that obviously helped lift the standard too. But back then, I think the structure of hockey was pretty simple, and we did it well, and that's what generated a lot of our success too.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering about is, I mean, I wasn't here for that, so I can only rely on the story. So if you're telling the story of what those Adelaide teams were in terms of the style of hockey that you played that made you so unbeatable, what was that style?
Yeah, I think just extending from what Candice was saying, Botsy liked to coach a very simple game, a very traditional. He had that motto of like hockey isn't complex. So, we would work every training. I remember at the start it was always the power skating. There's a lot of hockey players that have been playing for many years, but the first thing he'd go back to was the foundations of the game, the passing, the skating, and then just your simple breakouts and
just the simple principles of play as well. So he drilled us so much that we did the simple things that underpin the game really well. And I think from there we could then be creative and put our own spin on it. But because we had those foundations set, it worked. It worked for us and the team that we had at the time.
I've heard that Botsy can fire up a locker room.
I wasn't there. Were you there when he threw pucks? I think I was away that weekend.
Wait, whoa, what?
He got set. Sticks or pucks? Something. Some projectile went flying across the ice. I don't know. I think I was away that weekend. Maybe you can elaborate. Some call, wasn't happy with the ref call from what I hear. Stuff went flying off the bench and I think that's how the story goes, he got sent.
Yeah.
off the bench. So
Did you win?
Oh, I honestly can't remember, to be honest, but
No.
yeah, he was definitely fired up. But I think that's just,
passion.
yeah, and that's
Passionate.
exactly right. He's so passionate about the game, and he took his role really seriously, and he invested himself fully, and he was all about developing us and wanting the best for us. And yeah, he definitely threw a whole bunch of sticks or pucks on the ice at some point.
So Candice, when was your first year playing in the ADAB? If you could guess, we'll guess.
I want to say 2008
Okay.
was either the showcase series or when the league started, and then I played every year by one, I think, after that.
But your hockey career, especially with Team Australia, started.
2000. That I was part of the. So prior to the national team being the senior national team, we had two junior unofficial national teams that travelled to Boston. We had a connection with Assabet Valley, which was a really nice little club. Well, I think it's actually quite a big club and a successful club over in Concord, Massachusetts. So for 1998-99, we had that connection where we sent a junior team over and played some college teams. And then from the year 2000, that was the first year that we had a national women's team. And that team went to Hungary, I believe. Hungary.
And then
So that's when I started.
And then were you on the first ADAB team as well?
I think I was on their first A-Dub team. I remember
You
my
were the
memory
young,
of
young
all of
rookie.
this. My memory was I went to JMK over in Canberra or Sydney or something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
and I think the year after that was when this showcase series began, which then led into the A-Dub
Yes.
season. So I feel like maybe I was there for the first.
So how did you two meet for the first time? Was it through the ADAB, or was it through just playing hockey locally here, or was it through, or can you even remember?
I think it
I
was.
think,
What do you think?
I feel like you might have been playing juniors at the time, and I
Yeah.
would have been.
In the women's? Maybe?
You're really testing us, Eric. It's so long ago. I think we've been
Yeah.
at it for about 20-something years, and
Yeah.
you've been around for most of that. So
Yeah, Candice has always been that person that's been present when I've played hockey. I think that Tamara had brought me over to JMK from the Noarlunga Ice rink, and then I was
Yeah.
playing some juniors and stuff, and then I think just the natural progression was to move in with the women's league and things like that. And Candice, Candice was always there, so I feel like it was that transition from juniors to women's, maybe. Yeah.
So Candice was kind of, from everything that I hear, you go on the Legends of Australian Ice Hockey, you learn that you were the most, when you finished the national team, the most capped player for Team Australia when you had
yeah, I
retired
didn't know
at the
that
time.
either until someone told me. I'm not really one for counting things. You just do it because you love it. So
Which is absolutely fine,
Yeah.
but I mean, you were part of a generation that was kind of starting the ice, trailblazing the women's ice hockey in Australia.
And it was super exciting. We were very privileged to have an amazing coaching staff around us too. So we had Kathy Berg from the Olympic Oval program in Calgary. She came over for a few years. I can't remember exactly how many, but quite a number of years. She headed up our program with some brilliant coaching staff around her, whether it was our strength and conditioning coach, our assistant coaches, our managers, just brilliant team. And they were so professional, and that probably drove us to be disciplined and committed and really put in our best effort to represent our country really well. And I think it was our first gold medal win was in 2003 in Slovenia, and that was phenomenal because this team from Australia was competing against all these European teams that could play each other so much easily. They weren't so isolated like we were. They had competition around them all the time and just those opportunities. So I think, there was a bunch of us that were part of those initial years, and I would hope that those initial years were what set up the program and helped it continue to flourish. Well, it has flourished from there. So, yeah.
So is Candice a name, or some of those women that you mentioned as well, were they names that you, when you broke into the national team or on the hockey scene, that you would have heard of, saying, "Yep, this is that, this is that"?
Yeah, definitely. I think being one of the players that was heading on the Australian team and being from South Australia, as a young person from South Australia, I was always admiring what Candice was doing. So, I mean, I became a PE teacher because she was a PE teacher. So she's apologising to me now, and I'll forgive you.
Sorry.
But she's definitely a prominent figure in Australian ice hockey, and a lot of people look up to her and continue to. And I think, you can tell she's been committed because she started that whole process there, but she's also growing the grassroots hockey in South Australia. She's around here all the time developing the younger players and all the development players and stuff like that. So yeah, he's definitely one of the best.
Well, if Candice was one of the most capped Australian players of all time, and then you won a couple MVPs in the AWIHL, Tash, and then we're also on those national teams, but we're going to talk about you as a player, of course, but we have a few photos that, we were all exchanging before. I think you actually sent most of them. We want to know about the evolution of the Tash Farrier hair.
That's not me.
Flick through. You're in the back there. Yeah, flick through. Or even the looks here, the style, Tash Farrier. Walk me through we got some great photo of Sammy Mantier coming up later on as well, but walk me through the Tash Farrier style.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I feel like if you reflect on anyone that was like born in the 90s, then this hair is it. So,
this is true.
If we're actually laughing because digging up all these photos, I've been sending some other stitch-ups to some other friends, and literally all we comment on is how gross our hair is. But at the time, clearly we thought we were looking pretty good.
Can I just say though, I was not part of it, maybe because I'm a million years older than everybody else. If you look at all of my photos, they all look the same. My hair is all pulled back. It's always the same length, and I've always got a headband on. It's just the wrinkles that change. So I'm consistent on the ice and with my hair.
Yeah,
so I didn't go through that phase, but I'm enjoying watching this unfold.
Yeah, stitch ups for sure.
But on the theme of hair, there's a couple photos away here, and I think we'll pull that one up. There's a great photo of Sammy Mantier, who everyone knows. Oh my God, look how young Sammy looks.
Yeah.
What's the story behind this photo?
So basically, a lot of people know Sammy in the South Australian hockey community. He's been here for lots of years now, but he came over here to Australia because the Australian women's team were playing in Välimäki, Finland, which is where Sammy was going to university. Now, we'd had a really good Worlds the year before. 2007, we won gold in Sheffield, England. And then we had been, pushed up into the next division and went to Finland for this Worlds. Anyway, we sucked. It was a really tough year. We got absolutely thumped, but it was a great trip. And anyway, the university students, part of their assignments and stuff was to tour and guide the countries that were playing at Worlds. And Sammy was allocated to a team, and then last minute, something changed, and they changed the roster, and he got allocated to Australia. So this whole Worlds, this was our guy. He's guiding us around the campus, and he's making sure we're at our games. We even went and stole some massive big boombox speaker so that Australia had the biggest tunes going on, and all this stuff. And he let us give him a mohawk, as you can see in this photo here.
So that wasn't a bet or anything. You just.
I think it was I will get a mohawk if you win the next game, and we didn't because we didn't win any games at Worlds. But here he is getting a mohawk. And I reckon seriously within 3 weeks he was packing his bags and he was moving to Australia. And I said, bring your hockey bag. And he brought his hockey bag, and he's built himself a career here. He's grown the sport. He's played for the Adrenaline men's team. He's now coaching them, and he's never left. So. Yeah, there you go.
So you helped play a part in getting old Sammy or young Sammy in that photo. Yeah. Definitely old Sammy now.
Yeah, we crossed paths and it was just meant to be, and I think South Australia is going to be forever grateful because he's done so much for the hockey community here, and he continues to. So
I think South Australia is also grateful to have Neata Crompton and Tiff Venning come over to South Australia. Tiff from Queensland originally, Neats from New South Wales. What brought both of you over here? And there's a great photo of you two. Young looking, that was what, 2014? 13?
I think so,
I
something
think
like
it was
that.
14. I didn't play 13, so it was definitely 14.
But what brought you, in this photo here, you two are women from different states playing on Team Australia. We'll get to that photo in a second. Producer Brandon, let's go back to that one. We'll keep that one up for now. But you two were just from different states playing on the national team, but now you're teammates and good mates in South Australia. So what brought you over here to become officially South Australian?
I came here for a boy.
Oh, yeah.
who's that?
So I've been
Yeah, never heard of him. What?
I've been dating Zach Boyle since 2012 or something. We're going 9 years. So I came here for a boy, but I did have a lot of really good friends here in Adelaide as well. Natalie Ayres and Meg Ayres in particular. So yeah, had quite a good friend group here already, so it did help.
And did you two get along right away when you were on that national team for the first time, or?
My mum, so Tiff went on a trip to Iceland, was it?
Yeah.
And my mum was also used to be heavily involved in hockey and management and stuff like that. So she used to be teams managers and stuff. And one year she put her hand up to be the manager of the selects team, which is like the feeder team for the national team. And Tiff was on it that year. I think it was 2012. Yeah, it was at the very start of 2012. And so Mum went over with Tiff's team and fell in love with Tiff. Like, legitimately just loves Tiff. I call home and I'm like, hey Mum, how's things? Like, we chat for a bit and like, guaranteed most conversations, she'd be like, oh, make sure you send my love to Tiff. How's she going? How's Zach? How's everything? I'm like, they're good, Mum. Like, guaranteed, like, every time I call. But yeah, so I kind of already knew about Tiff a little bit, and then Mum had actually said before this trip, like, oh, Tiff's going, make sure you look after her, or like keep an eye out for her and stuff. I was like, Mum, she's not that young, like we're good. But yeah, so I think, once we saw her, I felt like I already kind of had a connection, and then yeah, it's pretty easy when you got a team of 18 individuals and you're stuck together for 3 weeks. You learn to adapt and gel pretty quickly. So
That's pretty cool. So those national teams, though, seem like for all of you, doesn't matter what generation you're part of, they seem like a bit of a vibe.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
big time.
And just so many good people, and lots of people that we still call really close friends. I've met my best friend through hockey and through that team, and our rush team.
Same here,
It's just, it's fantastic.
So Tiff, we're gonna put up this photo now. The photo's not as scandalous as it would appear right away. Tiff, what on earth is happening in this photo that you've sent to the group?
So this was the last year of JMK. So that was in 2011, I believe. So I played for the Queensland team, and we had just won silver, I think it was, and everyone was celebrating, drinking beer, having a great time, and us young ones, we were all underage and we were feeling a little left out. So they made sure to buy us some ginger beer to make sure that we weren't left out and we felt like we were still part of a team, which was really cool. I also have their swear jar because I was underage. Every time some of the adults swore during that tournament, I got to run after them with my little swear jar, and they had to put $1 in the jar if I caught them. So that was pretty fun. I think I ended up making nearly $100 that weekend.
Perfect. I love hearing those tournament stories about the camaraderie, and I think the next one we got up is a photo of, who is this? Why do you have a crocodile, and what's the story behind this croc or other little creatures that we've seen on the national teams?
So Croc is the rookie croc, so the youngest rookie. So every time someone goes onto the Australian team and they're the youngest rookie, their responsibility is to have Croc. Now that Croc is a very well-travelled, worldly creature. It has been everywhere. I first had it personally in 2005 when we went along to South Africa. It has a collar on it, and it's quite large, as you can see. So, you never want to leave it behind. And the tricky thing is the older people try to steal it from you. Now, if you do not take care of that croc and someone steals it from you, then you have some serious consequences to pay. So that was definitely, a memorable experience. And funnily enough, when we went to Sweden and Iceland just this last Worlds, I got to give it to a young rookie, which was pretty cool because it was the same croc, obviously, just a bit cleaner, being dry cleaned after
Same
every
croc
World.
has this long?
Yeah,
They dry
same croc.
clean
It
it
does get
every
washed.
year.
Yes,
They take it to
literally,
the dry
same
cleaner.
croc.
So Candice, when would this croc have been introduced?
It would have been, I guess, 2000 or at least near then.
What?
So he's quite old.
This is a 20-year-old croc.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He's well looked after though. He's very much loved, so maybe that's why he stays in good shape.
I had him in 2011 as well, and just touching on what Tash was saying before about the older players would try and steal him and stuff. There was actually once where I was a bit of a mischievous kid, so this is probably warranted. I had him tied to my ankle while I was making something in a little kitchenette, and someone actually came up behind me, took his collar off, and then pulled him away, and it was counted because I didn't keep my eyes on him. So it was it was quite scandalous. Sometimes you'd be like, oh. But if you lost him and they took him away from you, you had to do something to get him back. So it was a lot of fun though.
That's pretty cool. I can't believe it's lasted 20 years. So it'll be So who decides how does it get passed off? Is there a little ceremony around that, or Is it just if you're the youngest, you just go and pick up the crock, or?
Yeah, I think the last Worlds, well, just this past one that's just gone now in Sweden, we were all sat in there. We had a team meeting, and it was an official handover, delivering the crock to the youngest rookie. That's how it happened last. I don't know how it's happened in other years, but
my favorite thing about it as well is like it's the youngest rookie, right? So they have no idea. So every single year, their reaction is just like, it's so priceless. They're like, oh my God, what do you mean I have to carry this around? Like, because they have no idea, because they've never been on the team before. So as soon as they see it, they're just like, oh
That's
Lord,
awesome.
what have I gotten myself into?
That's pretty cool. So that crock has not only been with a lot of different people, it's been with a lot of different countries. So let's go around the room here. We'll start with you, Neats, because I'm just looking right across at you. Neats, where have you played hockey around the world?
Oh, that's a big question.
It's a big question. Just list off a few of the top ones that just popped to your mind.
Sweden, Finland, Japan, China, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, Finland, a couple
And
more, but yeah.
That's with the national team, either the juniors or the seniors, and also you went and played some club hockey at one point too.
Yeah.
Candice?
Not quite as extensive, but still pretty good. US, Hungary, Slovenia, South Africa, New Zealand, Czech Republic. Don't know where else. England. I'll leave it there. I can't remember anymore.
It gets a bit tricky.
New Zealand, China, Japan, Czech Republic, Spain, Italy, Finland, Iceland. I think that's all.
yeah, I reckon mine's probably pretty similar, but South Africa, Finland, Slovenia, Italy, Japan, England, Iceland, Sweden, Canada, probably more. I don't know. They're just the ones off the top of my head.
See, that is the coolest thing to me, that you have been able to go and represent your country, first off, is pretty cool. But being able to have a sport take you to those different countries, has it ever like really hit home or dawned on you being like, oh, gee whiz, that is cool, and probably an experience that most people just will never even dream of getting, to be totally honest?
Absolutely. I think hockey has provided so many opportunities for personal growth, but for adventure and for having those representative opportunities. So I'm forever grateful for hockey, and that's why most of us are happy to give back, because the sport has given us so much personally as well. So
Yeah, I think that it's definitely shaped who I am. I don't think I actually would have had these experiences, even the cultural experiences that you get when you go to different countries, and that awareness building and communicating with other people that are speaking different languages. And there's often times you can build friendships with people and you literally have not spoken a word of the same language, and you keep your friends, you know, like, and it's the hockey community is small, even though it's small here in South Australia, but there's people that played on our team in the Assassins from so long ago, and you may not see them, but I guarantee that if we went over there, they would open their door to us and we would be chatting with them,
Absolutely.
just like they were in our, in our hockey barn yesterday. So I think it's such a valuable thing to be a part of a hockey community.
There's a cool photo on screen of Hayley Wickenheiser smack in the middle there. One of the greatest, well, I'll just say she's Canadian, so she is the greatest hockey player of all time. But it's afforded you guys a lot of opportunities to even meet, like you were saying, interesting people. Is there any interesting characters you've come across or places that really stick out in your mind from some of your international journeys around?
Yeah, I think for me personally, with Kathy Berg, who coached the Australian team, which Candice mentioned before, she was part of the Oval Extreme, who Hayley Wickenheiser was playing for. And then you've got those older school players like Danielle Goyette, which you and I spoke about, those really prominent female players, having those people around the place. And then, we've gone again and seen Hayley Wickenheiser. I know Tiff's seen Hayley Wickenheiser in different parts of her journey too. And it's just amazing when you actually think about it, isn't it?
Favorite country that you would, if you could go back to one world championship over and over again, what country would you like to keep returning to?
Not a world championship, but I got invited to Finland for the IIHF championships. They have like a thing where you go, they select a few people for Australia, and you go over and you are playing on a team with different people from all over the world.
Cool.
And so, you have a player from every single different country and you're all playing together, and it's really fun. That's where I got to meet Hayley as well. and you're just training at this amazing place and with all these really cool coaches from different countries, and it's, you know, a bit of like language barriers, but it's really cool to just experience that and just get to know a lot of people in different situations.
Do people look at you funny when you say that you're Australian and you play ice hockey?
Oh, you always get the question like, there's ice hockey in Australia? What do you mean? But yeah, I have to say I agree with Tiff. Based on experience of, I think I was 16 or 17 when I did that camp as well, and it's just the best time. Like you have your team, and then you're meeting people from all over the world. Like you're overcoming all these little obstacles with each other, and it's just like, it's just so much fun. But I think location-wise, I would love to go back to the Czech Republic. It was just amazing. It was just so phenomenal.
What's pretty cool is we have a few different generations of Australian ice hockey in the room right now, but it all kind of culminated in a pretty cool season the last time the A-Dub was around with the Adelaide Rush. It was a couple tough seasons for the Rush prior to this, but it seemed like there was just a bit of magic in that It looked like a pretty fun locker room to be a part of from sitting on the outside looking in. Fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And the on-ice hockey was so much fun because we had a brilliant depth in our team, people who connect. It just flowed so nicely last year, 2 years ago.
I
Gosh.
know, it's
Where
crazy.
did we play? Yeah, no, in honesty, in all the seasons that I've played, I've enjoyed all the seasons, but I feel like the standard of hockey and the quality of hockey that we played that season was by far the most enjoyable and clearly one of the most successful ones as well in the later iterations of this league.
Is there a noticeable difference in the quality of hockey, both men's and women's, from when you were playing in the early 2000s to now in the early 2020s?
Yeah, absolutely. It's come along in leaps and bounds, and you've got to imagine when I first started hockey here, there were very few girls playing and not a very big sport at all. So a lot of us were playing with the boys. There'd be periods where we had some growth, and then it would sort of ebb and flow in terms of numbers. But overall, the standard of the play, through the good coaching and people going away and getting experiences from other coaches and playing with other teams and stuff, over time has just grown the standard of play, or improved the standard of play, sorry. So it's a fantastic league now.
It was almost like a big influx of players, it felt like, on that Rush team too. There were players that hadn't been playing in the A-Dub for a couple years, or players that were from interstate. Like, what was the atmosphere? Why was it that everybody wanted to be on this team and be part of something special with the Rush again?
I mean, I came in and it was my, obviously, first season with the Rush. I really didn't know what to expect. You know, I'd also been overseas for the season previous, so I'd only just moved to Adelaide, had the winter season off, and then, actually, I think that was the year that I played with the Jokers in the winter season. Anyways, so yeah, I had no idea what to expect, and I walked into the team, and obviously I knew Tiff, I knew Nat, like I knew Tash and stuff. Like I knew a few people, but I still wasn't sure what the the vibe would be. And as soon as we had our first practice, I was like, "Yep, this is it. This is a great team." And I was actually living with one of our imports, Lizzie, and like just absolute beauty. And all of those imports that we had, Sasha and Cookie as well, just really were the rock and foundation of why we did so well in terms of culture and just positivity. And they were always giving back. And I feel like sometimes you can get imports that perhaps take the season a bit selfishly, and they want to go out and party, or they want to take a weekend off and go explore, or whatever it is. But they were really dedicated, and they gave back a lot, and they were just really, really good people. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the season.
Yeah, same here. I actually had some time off, like almost 6-7 years maybe, and to come back to a season like that, it actually demonstrated to me how much the league had grown within even that 6-7 year period. And I think, yeah, even, Sydney had some fantastic imports, Melbourne did. I think every team had a mix of really good imports, and the depth was there, it was competitive, and I thoroughly enjoyed playing on a line with Sasha, and then you had, Neats and Lizzie on that second line, Cookie in defence. With the combination of girls we had, it just worked. It was great. It was a great season.
Tiff, you got to be a bit of a jack of all trades, I feel like, that season. You were kind of bouncing all over the ice in a few different roles. Is that something that was playing naturally to you, or something you were working on throughout the year?
Yeah, I think I went into forward that season to just give it a bit of a tryout. I was hoping to become a better defenseman by doing it and becoming a bit more offensive. But I had a lot of fun. I was on the line with Neata, and I got to score some goals, which was different.
It was honestly so nice having you too. I remember we didn't play with you to start with. I think we played with Tess, and that worked well as well. But I think we all kind of knew each other quite well, and yeah, it ended up being like a really fun line to be a part of.
Yeah.
So how much are you hankering for? I know they're trying to work out how there can be an AWIHL season this year, but how much are you hankering to at least give another run at the title, given how close we were before?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to playing with back to girls hockey, because it is very different to when you're playing in A grade. I really enjoy playing with all these girls. We have a structure, we understand where to be and what we're going to do. It's a bit easier to predict. And because it is just our style and our brand of hockey, I don't know if you guys find it different, but I definitely find it different playing with the women, and I do enjoy it. I enjoy both, but definitely looking forward to going back to that brand of hockey for a little bit too.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to get some normality back, and I've spoken about this before, but I think with hockey, and every hockey player could probably relate, it's like, you know when the season's going to be, you know what phase of fitness that you need to do, you're going to be, getting together and going to the gym, and you're preparing for something. And I think I've spoken to some of the men hockey players as well, and I think that's what they're missing too, is hockey players are used to having something to work towards, and that's kind of been taken away, and a lot of athletes could relate, but having something to work towards, and it's solidified, and that's when your season is. I think that's probably what I'm personally missing the most is, what's next, and the unpredictability. It's, you don't want to get too excited and think that it's going to happen, and then it's unpredictable, so it's hard to say.
I feel like, especially just seeing everybody gel as the season went on, it's almost a shame that you couldn't back that up the next year. Because like you said, a lot of it is figuring out how each player works on the team. When you have a bunch of new players, that can't be easy to figure out right away.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, equally as exciting, we've got other new players like our juniors and stuff who we have been able to watch, and they've been coming out to some of the women's sessions too. So I guess we can sort of start that process in a way too.
Cool.
And like Tash sort of alluded to earlier, seeing those young girls come through and hopefully take our spots in the near future is really exciting and something that we can continue to build on.
So we'll wrap it up with a little bit of junior ice hockey talk, specifically some of the young girls that are coming up through the system. If you could look back and give yourself or give some of these young kids some advice playing women's ice hockey in Australia, is there anything that you just think is vitally important for them to know or go with?
I think stick it out with the development. If you're in Sammy's development, or if you're in Candice's development, play as much hockey as you possibly can. We are limited for ice time, so if the opportunity's there, take it and practice off the ice. That would probably be my...
Yeah, and further to that, I think until I was part of the national team, I didn't really understand the value of off-ice training, like focused off-ice training for hockey players. And I know some of them are quite young, and we're probably not going to encourage that yet, but not just to be open to not only, yes, being on the ice as much as you can, but also don't neglect that side of the hockey too, because you'll be stronger, you'll be fitter, less injury prone, all that kind of stuff. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I would probably say just take a look at, around this room, a multitude of other female hockey players in Australia. You can do something with this sport. And yes, you may not get paid swillions of dollars. You may not get to the level of, NHL players, et cetera, but you can go and you can explore and you can see countries and you can play at a really, really high level. Like, I went and played in Sweden, and it was the step down from the pro league, and it was still just phenomenal. Like the level of the girls there they trained their asses off. They were all playing, boys hockey growing up, and it showed. And yeah, I think as, if I saw someone that was maybe 14, 15, wondering if they kind of wanted to continue or they're on the cusp, I'd be like, if you're enjoying this, like stick it out, give it a good crack, because you can have a lot of fun with this sport. It's the best sport.
Yeah, Tiff, it seems like some of the, even when we're talking outside of this room, like a lot of those experiences that you've had that shape you have just come through the game.
Yeah, I think I've had some great opportunities working with some really good players that I looked up to, Candice being one of them, be on my national team. Just like looking up at those players have really helped me to become a good player myself. So I think, yeah, that's my advice, is just to see these more senior players and what they're doing and get as much advice from them as you can.
Well, before we let everybody go, anything you want to add about anything at all? It doesn't need to be about hockey.
I think we covered a lot of bases there.
A wide variety of ground. Well, again, thank you very much to all four of you for joining me tonight. Can't wait to see you all back on the ice. We'll be all on different teams going against each other for the rest of the A grade season and the playoffs. You can catch all the action, at least on Wednesdays and then the finals, on the Ice Arena Hockey Facebook page. If you're watching this on another page, make sure you follow the Ice Arena Hockey Facebook page. That's where all the content is going to be. So on behalf of Neata Crompton, Candice Mitchell, Tiff Venning, and Tash Farrier, I'm Eric Balnar. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy Olympic viewing schedule to watch these legends tonight. And we'll catch you next week with ice hockey back at the Ice Arena.